From Daily Trust News Center, this is News Hour.
On News Hour tonight, Abuja-Kaduna train services set to resume end of November, Minister announces. Speaker, House of Representatives tells ASU to remain calm as union executives meet in Abuja over October half salary. NCC set to auction another spectrum for 5th generation deployment before end of 2022. And on the foreign scene, Ethiopian government and Tigray forces established telephone hotline following truce. Hello and welcome to Trust News Hour. I'm Eugenia Abu. Nigeria's Minister of Transportation, Muazu Sambo, Monday unveiled plans for the resumption of train services between Abuja and Kaduna, earlier shut down due to terrorist attack. The minister, who made the announcement while addressing a news conference on the Buhari government's achievements in the transport sector, also highlighted giant strides in other sectors, including maritime security. Trust TV's Shafiu Suleiman now reports.
While assuring the restoration of the suspended Abuja-Kaduna shuttle service before the end of this month, the Minister of Transport told newsmen that comprehensive plan has been made to guarantee a 24-hour surveillance of the rail lines to ensure safety of travelers.
The minister should be able to sit in his office and look at the rail corridor and see what is happening there. The president should be able to do that. The Director General of the SSS should be able to do that, and so on, and all other security agencies. These are the measures we have put in place.
Unprecedented rail modernization, including the Trans-Saharan Kano to Maradi. He says the project, amongst others, will boost the nation's economy and facilitate trade relations between Nigeria and others up to Europe if completed.
Niger is supposed to continue from Maradi up to its border. The next country, which is, I think, Mali, will take up, and then Algeria will take its own. And before you know it, you can move your cargo from Lagos to Europe by rail, and cheaply so.
Providing a sector-by-sector achievements of the Buhari administration, the Transport Minister enumerated the Deep Blue Sea amongst other projects in the maritime sector.
The President commissioned the Deep Blue project in June 2021, and we are proud today to inform Nigeria and indeed the world that since the commissioning took place, there hasn't been a single reported case of piracy in Nigeria's exclusive economic zone.
The Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, who moderated the session, reiterated that the Buhari government has made giant strides in the area of critical infrastructure, far above any other administration. There are, however, growing concerns on the huge borrowings the government is embarking upon to realize these projects. Shafiu Suleiman, Trust TV News, Abuja.
The Director General of the All Progressives Congress APC Presidential Campaign Council and Plateau State Governor Simon Lalong says the council targets 25 million votes from farmers across the country for the party in the 2023 presidential elections. Lalong stated this at the Tinubu-Shettima Town Hall meeting with representatives of agro-commodity groups from the 19 northern states in Minna, Niger State. Lalong, who urged heads of cooperatives and association of farmers to mobilize their members to vote for APC, said Bola Tinubu has a plan to develop the agricultural sector from subsistence to commercial level in order to achieve food sufficiency in the country. He said the meeting was one of the critical engagements to enable the presidential candidate understand the challenges facing farmers and farming activities in order to achieve food sufficiency through mechanized agriculture and improved value chain. The new Nigeria People's Party, NNPP, has received thousands of decampees from the ruling All Progressives Congress APC, the opposition People's Democratic Party, and other political parties in Bauchi State. The defectors were received at the railway football field within the state capital. Adamu Imam completes that report.
The state chairman of the new Nigerian People's Party, Shehu Sani Malam, assure all the campees that the party will not disappoint them, having joined the party at a time Bauchi people are yearning for change of government at all levels across the state. The party flag bearer, Senator Halliru Dauda Jika, says NNPP is the only party that will salvage the Bauchi civil servant from delayed salary payments due to what he termed insincerity of the present administration in the state. We are going to contest the election. I am an indigene of Bauchi who was born and brought up here. Everyone knows where I come from, and it has become imperative to stand firm and win this election. We will not allow the state to continue like this. By the grace of Almighty God, we will emerge victorious at the poll. One of the campees, Alhaji Garba Chiruma, who spoke on behalf of the defectors, said they decided to join the party in order to get the right people of the helm of affairs of the Bauchi state government. Honestly, we decided to decamp because of his good intention as the governorship candidate of NNPP. We are not looking at the so-called empowerment programs of the present administration in the state. We don't care. We will defeat them hands down by God's grace. Some stakeholders of the party who are sure of their commitment towards the success of the NNPP also pray for victory in all positions during the 2023 general elections and urge the electorate to vote for the party. Adam Imam, Trust TV News, Bauchi.
In the meantime, Rivers State Governor Nyesom Wike says the 5 governors of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, are bonded to save Nigeria. He said nobody can break the ranks of the 5 PDP governors who have continued to insist that Iyorchia Ayu should resign as the national chairman of the party. Wike noted that because the governors remained dogged in their demand, people have made several efforts to break their ranks, but cannot succeed. In addition to Wike, the other governors that make up the 5 are Samuel Otom of Benue, Sheyi Makinde of Oyo, Okezie Ikpeazu of Abia, and Ifeanyi Ugwanyi of Enugu. The Rivers State governor spoke at the new banquet hall of Benue State Government House, Makudi, during a dinner on Sunday night organized in honor of the G5 by Otom.
Governor Otom, what we came here today to do is to give him solidarity support for tomorrow's campaign, to tell the people of Benue we are with Governor Otom. There's nothing to hide about it. You may like us, you may hate us. It doesn't matter. We are with Governor Otom. And you see, if you look at us here, the way we are, people have tried to see how they can break us. You cannot. We are bonded to save Nigeria. That's how we are bonded.
Governor Wike of Rivers State. In another development, the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, has said that litigations involving political parties are affecting the Commission's preparedness for the 2023 elections. Yakubu stated this at the inauguration of the Electoral Logistics Committee held at INEC headquarters in Abuja. The INEC chairman said cases arising from the conduct of primaries for the nomination of candidates by political parties had increased, noting that INEC was joined in about 600 cases relating to the conduct of recent primaries and nomination of candidates by political parties for next year's general elections. Yakubu said they have studied the judgments of the tribunals arising from both the 2019 general elections, the off-cycle governorship elections, and the by-elections conducted so far, and identified areas the Commission needs to do more to reduce litigations. He said INEC has been joined in about 600 cases related to the conduct of recent primaries and nomination of candidates by political parties for the 2023 elections. He said the implication of these litigations is that it is eating into vital time for preparation of procurement of sensitive materials. The Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Olukayode Ariwola, on Monday swore in members of the Election Petition Tribunal for the 2023 general elections at the National Judicial Institute, Abuja. Having administered the oath of office on the members of the tribunal, the Chief Justice urged the judicial officers not to treat their assignments with levity, warning that he will not tolerate any form of judicial recklessness. The exercise kicked off a 4-day capacity workshop for the justices and members of the tribunal to end on Thursday. In order to forestall conflicting rulings by the tribunals, the appeal court compiled a case management system, which is a document that will serve as an additional guide. In attendance at the event include the President of the Appeal Court, Justice Monica Dongban-Mensah, Chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, Mahmoud Yakubu, as well as Justices of the Court of Appeal. Justice Dongban-Mensah admonished members of the tribunal to be firm and law-abiding in the discharge of their duties, noting that by the nature of their assignment, they will be exposed to temptations, adding that they must be in total control of their thoughts. The Zamfara State chapter of the Cattle Dealers Association says it will work with security agencies to flush out cattle rustlers in the state. Chairman of the association, Aminu Garba, disclosed this shortly after the inauguration of the new executives of the association in Gusau, the state capital. Aminu Garba, who was re-elected for a second term as the chairman of the Zamfara State Cattle Dealers Association, said measures have already been put in place by the association to checkmate activities of cattle rustlers in the state. He stated that its members do not involve themselves in buying and selling suspected rustled cattle and are vigilant to identify genuine cattle brought to the market for sale.
These states, there are some people always are looking at our members, they are always buying cattle rustled. They are not cattle rustled buyers, which is not the truth. What we are doing is we are trying our best because there is regulation in the states. Under the security, there is pictures. When you buy a cow inside the state, you must take that picture. That is the seller and the agent inside the market. There is POS that the state government is generating their revenue under our watch, and we are paying. Even the safety of the market is specific before. Whoever have this, each and every cow must have this.
The troops of the Nigerian military attached to Operation Hadarindaji have neutralized some terrorists at Yatasha village in Maru local government area, Zamfara state, while trying to harvest farmers' produce in the village. The military personnel also killed a bandit kingpin, Bada, who was reported to have attacked the village market and killed some farmers before he started harvesting their produce. The Director of Defense Media Operations, Major General Musa Damadami, who said this in a statement issued Monday morning, explained that the troops recovered one motorcycle, some weapons and other valuables from the adversaries. Damadami said the troops have been charged to maintain the same tempo in denying enemies of a country the liberty to bring the nation down, calling on residents to avail troops with credible and timely information on criminal activities. The senior military officer also disclosed that the troops responded to bandits' attack on Gamraki village, Kwatarkwashi district of Bungudu local government area of the state, where they engaged the terrorists who had kidnapped 2 locals. The Speaker of the House of Representatives, Femi Gbajabiamila, has appealed to members of the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, to remain calm in view of their latest outcry over the reported half payment of their salaries by the federal government. In a statement he personally signed in Abuja on Monday, the Speaker noted that efforts to find lasting solutions to the concerns frequently raised by ASU were on, noting that President Muhammadu Buhari has indicated interest in wading into the latest concerns raised by the union. Gbajabiamila noted that the position taken by the executive that it was not obligated to pay salaries to lecturers for the time spent on strike is premised on the law and the government's legitimate interest in preventing moral hazard and discouraging disruptive industrial actions. Speaker Gbajabiamila also restated his commitment to providing sustainable reforms to the Nigerian tertiary education system. He noted that the challenges facing Nigerian tertiary education are multifaceted, hence the need for all stakeholders to come together and proffer solutions. The Vice-Chancellor of the University of Jos, Tanko Ishaya, says lecturers of the university haven't gone on strike, but decided to teach from home because of financial difficulties faced by them. This is coming 2 days after the members of the Academic Staff Union of the University, ASU, issued a notice of stay at home until their withheld salaries were paid by the federal government. In an interactive session with journalists held at the university on Monday, the Vice-Chancellor said, to the best of the knowledge of the university management, the academic staff decided to teach from home and not that they had declared another strike action. Ado Musa completes that report.
The Vice-Chancellor said, soon after the National Executive Council of Academic Staff Union of University called off its prolonged strike, the university management agreed that in an event where the lecturers are not paid when academic activities resume, they could continue with their academic activities virtually using technology, adding that they had put in all plans with respect to virtual platforms in order to ensure both academic staff and students are able to engage.
Trying to ensure that the policy of no work, no pay is actually implemented, I'm appealing to government to look at the university system slightly differently from a number of perspectives. And I use this opportunity to say that the role and the responsibility of an academic is not only teaching. That is, the role of an academic is not only teaching. Perhaps we have not been saying this loud and clear, but I use this opportunity to make it very clear that as an academic, your responsibility and your letter of appointment describes 3 main responsibilities: teaching, research, and community engagement.
On the issue of no work, no pay, which the federal government has insisted on, the Vice-Chancellor has appealed to the federal government to reconsider its position and pay the lecturers their salaries, as the work of the academic staff was beyond teaching in classrooms, as it included research and community services, which he believed that the lecturers had engaged in even during the prolonged strike.
Because of lack of payment of salaries, academic staff can do their lectures from home using the technologies, and we have put in all the plans in place with respect to the virtual platforms in order to ensure that both academic staff and students are able to, to engage with academic staff, while studying, while delivering other lectures, tutorials, or whatever from home.
The academic staff of the university had on Sunday issued a notice directing all its members to stay at home and asked students to wait until the backlogs of their salaries were paid. Ado Musa, Trust TV News, Jos.
And still on ASU, members of the National Executive Council of the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, are holding an emergency meeting to address issues relating to the salary cut for October. The closed-door meeting, which started at about 12:15 on Monday, is currently holding at the National Secretariat of the Union in the University of Abuja campus. The meeting is being presided over by the President of the Union, Emmanuel Osodeke. You're still watching News Hour on Trust TV. Coming up after the break, why minimum wage is never enough. Stay with us.
At Taj Bank, we are a non-interest bank like no other, That's because we do not just share in your success story, but we also share your risk like it's ours. And that's why we say at Taj Bank, our only interest is you.
Trust TV, documenting the Nigerian story.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is News Hour on Trust TV. A recap of our top stories. Abuja-Kaduna train services set to resume end of November, Minister announces. And Speaker, House of Representatives tells ASU to remain calm as union executives meet in Abuja over October half salary. And the leadership of the newly registered academic union in Nigerian Universities, Congress of University Academics, CONUA, on Monday described as a mistake the federal government's action to lump its members together with its no work, no pay policy. The union also asked the government to immediately release all the withheld salaries of all its members covering March to September 2022, arguing that it wasn't their fault that they were locked out of the university campuses during the period the strike lasted. These were contained in a statement jointly signed by the National Coordinator, National Secretary, and National Publicity Secretary of CONUA, Nii Sumonu, Henry Urikpeloye, and Ernest Nwoke, and made available to Daily Trust. Reacting in the statement on Monday, CONUA said it did not declare strike and therefore lumping its members together with a no work, no pay policy as the federal government resumes payment of salaries following schools reopening must be a mistake. Taraba State House of Assembly staff have commenced an indefinite strike over 7 years of unpaid allowances. The staff, under the umbrella of Parliamentary Staff Association of Nigeria, PASAN, Taraba State, in a letter signed by its chairman and secretary, Ibrahim Bala Yusuf and Yahuda Atwen, explained that the decision became necessary following non-compliance to the 7 days ultimatum issued to Governor Darius Ishaku to clear the 7 years outstanding allowances. The association directed all staff of the assembly to remain at home until their demands are met. A retired permanent secretary and the Wazirin Katsina, Senator Ibrahim Ida, wants the federal government to reform the civil service to enable it to address contemporary challenges. He stated this in an interview with Trust TV in Abuja. The senator is hopeful that with the needed reforms, the service would be better positioned to handle the evolving tasks involved in carrying out its mandate.
I have the background of civil service, and I know what civil service was and what civil service is. And I know during our time we had a lot of our costs made by the government in various forms. That is not available now. I know that the civil servant of today does not get a living wage or salary. What he gets, given the price hikes, does not sustain him, does not provide for him to really meet his accommodation needs, family needs, feeding needs, education of his children, and really the welfare of his extended family. So I am an ardent believer of the fact that there is a need to review the salaries of public servants.
And now to issues of population. The National Population Commission has launched an online portal for online recruitment of ad hoc staff for the scheduled 2023 census. The National Population Commission Federal Commissioner in charge of Katsina State, Bala Almobanye, made the disclosure at a press conference on Friday in Katsina. Jamil Mabai has that report.
People, when we talk of the nation, we're talking of much more than 1 million people.
Ahead of the scheduled 2023 National Population and Housing Census, the National Population Commission said it has launched an online portal for electronic recruitment of certain categories of ad hoc staff for the process. Addressing a press conference, Katsina State NPC Federal Commissioner Bala Almobanye explained that in order to carry out the gigantic task of conducting accurate and reliable census, there is need for the recruitment of manpower that will carry out the exercise.
Today, this briefing is on the e-recruitment for the ad hoc functionaries that will participate in the conduct of the 2023 Population and Housing Census. To carry out the gigantic task of conducting accurate and reliable census, there is the need for the recruitment of manpower that will carry out the exercise.
He added that the need to be fair and transparent in the recruitment process has led the Commission to introduce e-recruitment portal and train the officers that will superintend over the important census.
The need to be fair and transparent in the recruitment process has led the Commission to introduce the online e-recruitment portal and train the officers that will superintend over this important recruitment process.
He listed some of the categories of the ad hoc staff to include facilitators, training center administrators, monitoring and evaluation officers, data quality managers and supervisors, among others.
I'm happy to inform you all and Nigerians that the Commission will, through the online recruitment process, request for applicants from the following categories of field staff: A, facilitators; B, training center administrators; C, monitoring and evaluation officers; D, data quality managers; E, data quality assistants; F, supervisors; G, enumerators. The number of functionaries to be recruited in each category will depend on the number of available vacancies in each state, which will be derived largely from the total number of enumeration areas in the state.
The quality of the recruitment process will reflect on the quality of the data to be collected and ultimately the success of the 2023 census. Jamilu Mabai, Trust Television, Katsina.
3 persons were on Monday reportedly killed and 3 others injured in an early morning crash along the Ibadan-Lagos Expressway. The public education officer of the Ogun State Sector Command of the Federal Road Safety Corps, FRSC, Florence Okwe, in a statement, attributed the possible cause of the accident to excessive speed. The accident, which involved a Toyota Sienna with registration number DKP60LG, was said to have been brushed by a speeding tanker. The injured victims have, however, been taken to a nearby hospital for medical attention, while the remains of the deceased have been deposited at a morgue. FRSC Sector Commander in the state, Ahmed Umar, commiserated with the victims and advised motorists to shun excessive speed. The Bayelsa Emergency Management Agency, BISEMA, has put the number of people affected by flood in the state to about 1.3 million, with 96 deaths recorded. Data released by Bisema in Yenagoa, the Bayelsa state capital, on Monday also indicated that no fewer than 1.2 million people were displaced and compelled to seek refuge in temporary camps. According to Bisema, the collation of data from the field was still ongoing. Floods hit parts of Nigeria in the last 2 months. Some of the other affected states are Kogi, Benue, Ebonyi, Anambra, Bauchi, Gombe, Kano, and Jigawa. Others are Zamfara, Kebbi, Sokoto, Imo, Abia, Edo, Delta, Kogi, Plateau, and parts of Abuja. The National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, has said about 2.5 million persons are affected and over 603 persons were killed by the flooding in the country. Niger Delta federal lawmakers have called for the sacking of the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, Sadiya Umar Farouk. The lawmakers made the call in reaction to what they termed as her neglect of the entire region of the Niger Delta, particularly Bayelsa State, where the United Nations have declared a disaster zone. They described her action as divisive and punitive, stating that her actions show lack of experience, skills, and capacity to handle such a specialized and highly professional ministry, while also faulting the statistics used to ascertain which areas needed more attention than others. They said most oil companies in the region are being forced to declare force majeure due to the impact of the devastation caused by heavy flooding on the facilities which have hampered operations in the region.
Surprisingly, the federal government has set up a 90 days time frame committee. This committee was set up without state participation, only for this committee to discretionarily call on state participation. Why would you, in this kind of important issue, set up a committee, a national committee, without liaising with the states and bringing on board representatives of the state? Because all these locations that we are talking about belong to states. They fall into various states.
What we see in politics, our style of politics, is politics of prebendalism, okay, where state resources are, funneled to areas where they are less needed, and people who need them more are allowed to grow. Today, all the resources are aggregated under one umbrella, ecological funds, and they are disbursed by one man who may not have known where Kolokuma or Opokuma is, who may not have known where Ndoni that suffers this flooding is. All that we do is to sit down in Abuja and determine where it's flooded, determine where it's affected by erosion, and disburse our common wealth, which is derivable from the same environment that is affected.
Recall that the minister had told State House correspondents last week that Bayelsa State was not among the top 10 states devastated by the floods, pointing out that Jigawa State was the most affected state. Several people were allegedly killed as youths of Izombe in Oguta local government area of Imo State clashed with soldiers from the 34 Artillery Brigade, Obinze. The incident happened after soldiers were drafted to the oil-rich community to checkmate youth restiveness in the area. It was learned that the youth had 2 weeks ago attacked and killed a Dangote truck driver, which prompted increased patrol by the soldiers. However, the youth were alleged to have attacked the patrol team, which resulted in heavy shooting. Spokesperson of the 34 Artillery Brigade Obinze, Captain Joseph Akubo, who confirmed the incident, denied that soldiers invaded the community. He said the youths had attacked the soldiers who were on normal patrol following increased criminal activities in the area. Akubo said he's yet to ascertain the casualty figure, as the youths were still engaging the soldiers in a fierce battle. A high court sitting in Shandam local government area of Plateau State has seized 3 vehicles from the former chairman of Shandam local government, Isaac Kiale Kwalu, which was said to be properties of Kwan Pam Local Government Council. The seizure of the vehicles followed the court judgment delivered by Justice S.D. Samchi on November 3rd, 2022 in Shandam after a suit filed by Kwampam Local Government Council against 4 accused persons. The accused are the Chief Registrar, High Court of Justice, Plateau State, Chief Bailiff, the High Court of Justice, Jos, Plateau State, Attorney General, Plateau State, and Honorable Isaac Kialekwalu, who were the first, second, third, and fourth defendants, respectively. The court, in its ruling, granted all the relief sought by the claimant, adding that after reviewing the case, the court held that by virtue of ownership documents attached to the said case, the vehicles are the bona fide property of the council. The vehicles recovered from Honorable Kwalu include a black Toyota Prado Jeep, a silver Ford Ranger, and a white Toyota Hilux special van. The Central Criminal Court in London, United Kingdom, has moved the trial of Deputy Senate President Ike Ekweremadu over alleged organ harvesting from May 2023 to January 31st, 2023. The Old Bailey agreed that arguments will be heard on the 16th or 19th of December 2022 before the commencement of the trial in January. Ekweremadu and his wife Beatrice were arrested on June the 23rd on charge with conspiracy to traffic a person for organ harvesting in violation of the Modern Slavery Act 2015. Though he was absent from court on Monday, his wife, who was released on bail in July, and Sonia, the couple's daughter, were present. Last week, Justice Inyang Ekwo of Federal High Court Abuja ordered the interim forfeiture of Ekweremadu's assets following an ex parte motion by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC. The United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, has commended the governor of Adamawa State, Amadou Finitri, for signing the Child Protection Bill into law. The law aimed to safeguard the rights of children by preventing and addressing the killing and maiming of children, child labor, abductions of children, sexual violence against children, and the recruitment and use of children by armed groups, among other grave violations of their rights. UNICEF, while commending the state for the signing, hopes that the new law in Adamawa will be effectively implemented so that vulnerable children are supported to survive, thrive, and become successful members of the society. With the signing into law of the Child Protection Bill by the government of Adamawa State, only Kano, Bauchi, and Gombe states are yet to domesticate the Child Rights Act. UNICEF called on the governments of the affected states to do the needful as a commitment to humanity and respect for the rights of children, and assured that it will continue to work with the government of Adamawa to operationalize the law and bring perpetrators and violators into account. Since the National Minimum Wage Bill was signed into law for implementation nearly 5 years ago, civil servants in Kano State say their fortunes have not changed for the better, and they are looking up to the federal government for another review in the next 1 year. In this report, Trust TV correspondent Idris Jibrin reports that workers say the current high cost of living is making it difficult for the minimum wage to sustain an average worker. Here's his report.
Babangida Inua is a civil servant in Kano who earns 30,600 naira a month. But with the high cost of living eating deep into his earning, he's wondering if civil service will continue to be his way forward. Over the last 5 days, Babangida says he has been waiting for salary to buy the little he could for his family, but the salary has not come yet. My salary is 30,000 naira. Once I buy 1 bag of rice, it's finished. Therefore, other things like children's health, school fees, nothing for that. Not only 1 bag of rice. Even if I'm buying maize, 30,000 naira will not buy 2 bags of maize for me, which means the whole salary cannot sustain me. According to Workers' Union in Kano, most civil servants are still suffering despite the implementation of the national minimum wage. The price of food items have gone high, which makes it even difficult for low-salary earners to meet up with the demands of their families, even with the 30,000 naira minimum wage.
How much is a bag of rice presently? I think it's if you buy even a bag of rice, it can split even the 30,000. So that is why he said government is looking at ways where it can enhance the salary of Nigerian workers. But even if that is not done, I think from 2019 to date is almost 4 years. So if you see that by next year, the new national minimum wage law provides that the minimum wage of this country should also be reviewed according to the provision of the law.
Meanwhile, workers say that despite the minimum wage, some local government areas in Kano are yet to fully implement it, another problem creating tension among government workers.
The minimum wage is not fully implemented, especially at the local government. Okay. We have been discussing with the labor and the government cycle on how to complete the minimum wage. The minimum wage at the state workers is complete, but those at the local government is halfway implemented. Okay. But still we are discussing with the state government to make it complete as they did it at the state.
While the National Minimum Wage Bill provides that the worker's salary be reviewed after each 5 years, workers in Kano hopes that the review in about 1 year from now will help bring relief to their long years of hardship. Idris Jubrin, Trust TV News, Kano.
You're watching News Hour on Trust TV. We'll be back after the break. Stay.
Nigerians, elections are here again. Let us shun violence. Let us play the game according to the rules. Do not be a thug. Say no to violence. Let's rise and defeat violence, crime, and sabotage against the peace of our nation. Nigeria is the only country we have. We must do everything to keep it united. We must avoid any act that promotes hate and disintegration. Say no to separatist movement, terrorism, fake news, hate speech, religious bigotry, and any act that tends to divide us as a nation. Watch out for strange gatherings and suspicious movements. Restrict access to sensitive documents and data, the disclosure of which may damage national security. Educate your staff and family, particularly on measures to safeguard information and report security breaches. Apply relevant legal security guidelines to protect yourself and your neighbors. Due to misinformation and wrong choices, some idle persons resort to vices in their greed to get rich quick. They resort to kidnapping, killings for rituals, and other heinous crimes. Avoid wrong use of the social media. Before you broadcast that false message, think twice. Ask whether it will promote peace or violence. For safety at home, still be security conscious. Educate your household on safety tips. Report all suspicious movements and persons to the security agencies nearest to you. Be a good citizen. Be patriotic. To pass security information, please call 0813-222-2105, 0915-339-1309, 0908-837-3514, or send a mail to dsspr@dss.gov.ng. This message is from the Department of State Services, DSS.
Thank you for rejoining us. Nigerian Communications Commission, NCC, set to put up another slot of spectrum in the 3.5 GHz spectrum's band for auction before the end of the year 2022 to boost the deployment of fifth-generation 5G services in parts of the country. This was part of the deliberations when the management of Media Trust Group visited the executive vice chairman of the commission, where both organizations agreed to further expand and leverage existing relationships through the engagement of additional services. Trust TV's Aisha Salihu reports.
At the interface with the management of Media Trust Group and the Nigerian Communications Commission, there is a consensus that the role of media cannot be overemphasized in disseminating information to the public, as well as building partnerships for mutual benefits.
But we always use the media in order to provide information to the public. We wouldn't have been able to do it, no matter how powerful our Directorate of Public Affairs is, because you have what it takes to reach out. Absolutely. We don't have that reach. Okay, so we appreciate the very, very important work the media is doing, and in particular, the very, very important work that Daily Trust is doing.
The executive vice chairman of the commission informed the Media Trust team of the first action turnout of the 5G technology, which the commission is set to action again, with promises of substantial network improvements, higher connection speed, mobility and capacity, as well as low latency capabilities to communication services in Nigeria.
Now commercial 5G services in Lagos. As we speak, MTN has launched 5G commercial services. And we've spoken at length about the usage scenarios, ultra reliable, low latency applications, very fast. Okay? And then we talk about driverless cars, machine-to-machine control. Okay? Even though those are applications we do not expect to see, but what we have started with is the enhanced mobile broadband services. I'm sure when you eventually enjoy the 5G experience, you'd be surprised at how fast, you're able to, access the internet as well as download material, from your internet. The speed has gone, much, much higher than we know it, of course, at affordable cost.
The deployment of the 5G technology is to act as a catalyst for smart cities in the country and a platform for the creation of jobs that support the digital economy, as stipulated by the National Policy on Fifth Generation Networks. Aisha Salihu, Trust TV News, Abuja.
In the meantime, the federal government, through SMIDAN, has reiterated its commitment to eliminate the hurdle of poor finance availability for small businesses by partnering with financial institutions. The Director General of SMIDAN, Olawale Fasonya, who disclosed this, harped on the importance of taking away finance bottlenecks for SMEs to further add value and increase economic productivity. Here's that report.
Over 40 million micro, small and medium enterprises are domiciled in Nigeria, and these businesses remain the engine room that powers economic development while creating jobs for Nigeria's teeming youth. However, access to affordable finance remains a major challenge for the subsector. Thus, Nigeria's MSME Bureau is taking the bull by the horn to partner with private sector to enable such business operators access finance under its conditional grant transfer scheme.
It's a scheme targeted at the entrepreneurs at the bottom of the pyramid. These are nano businesses, one-man businesses that their capital base, some of them are no more than 10,000, 5,000. So the idea is to inject 50,000 into their businesses, make them bankable, move them from informality to being formal, because we open bank account for them, we register them with Corporate Affairs Commission, we train them, and then we give them micro insurance. So it is meant to assist people that are, like I said, at the bottom of the pyramid, to be able to enhance their living standards and for them to also be bankable.
Representative of finance institutions explain modalities on how these funds can be assessed and its impact on businesses.
It's a non-refundable grant, and the essence of this is that the federal government wants to invest heavily in the micro enterprise in order to grow in order to grow their business. So what Smidan is all about is giving them the grant and ensuring that that money, helps them to grow their business, such that the business can also employ more people and do better.
As Nigeria moves towards building a more financially inclusive economy, businesses play a huge role, and putting incentives in place will help these businesses in more ways than one. Christiana Amodu Otinya, Trust TV News, Abuja.
More business news now, and Chamun Dabeng brings us up to date.
Nigeria's imports of imported used cars have dropped by 51.2% in the first half of 2022. This is according to data from the National Bureau of Statistics. The value of the economy from January to June was 169.1 billion naira, a 51.2% decrease from the 346.29 billion naira reported in the same period of 2021. Further evidence indicates that Nigeria spent 59.1 billion naira on used automobiles in the first half of 2018, when car imports hit their lowest levels ever. NBS reports that Nigeria spent 96.76 billion naira, or 33.8% more than quarter one, 72.32 billion naira on the importation of vehicles in quarter two, 2022. Used automobile imports into Nigeria have recently decreased, with dealers across the nation blaming it on the weakening value of the local currency, a lack of foreign exchange, and the high cost of clearance at the ports. A rise of 62.37% in 2022 over the $1.6 billion realized during the same period in 2021 brought the nation's non-oil exports to nearly $2.59 billion in the first half of the year. According to the executive director of the Nigerian Export Promotion Council, NEPC, Ezra Yakusak, this continued to be the highest performance in non-oil exports in recent years. Speaking at the first National Forum of the State's Committee on Export Promotion, SCEP, in Abuja, he said despite the effects of COVID-19 on the economy in 2019 and 2020, the nation's non-oil export performance had been improving over the previous year. Despite increased involvement by the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, in the foreign exchange market, Nigeria's external reserves decreased in value by $866.2 million, or 2.26% in October 2022, falling from $38.255 billion when they entered the month under review to $37.39 billion. By October 31st, 2022, the country's foreign exchange buffer had declined by $3.13 billion, or 7.73%, or 10 months, from $40.5 billion to $37.39 billion. Analysts bemoan the declining inflow from crude oil, among other factors, and blame the decline in external reserves on the CBN Bank's increased involvement in SMIS and investors and exporters' windows to stabilize the Naira exchange rate. That's all for business news. I am Chamun Dabeng.
Thank you, Chamun, for that business update. And now to the foreign scene. The Ethiopian government and Tigrayan forces have established a telephone hotline following a truce struck last week. The African Union's chief mediator, Olusegun Obasanjo, said on Monday as both sides meet in Kenya for talks on implementing the ceasefire. On November the 2nd, the federal government and regional forces from Tigray agreed to the cessation of hostilities, a diplomatic breakthrough 2 years into a war that has killed thousands and displaced millions. The truce has raised hopes that humanitarian aid can start moving back into a region where hundreds of thousands face famine. Representatives of Ethiopia's government and forces from Tigray are in the Kenyan capital, Nairobi, to discuss how to begin implementing the ceasefire, with the talks expected to last 3 or 4 days. According to an official familiar with the talks, the hotline will address any flare-up in fighting and coordinate disengagements, with both sides recognizing the challenge of fully communicating with all their units to stop fighting. The Tigray People's Liberation Front, TPLF, the party that dominates the region, pledged to disarm their fighters fully within 30 days under the agreement. Suspected Al-Shabaab fighters attacked a Somali military base in the central Galgaduud region on Monday, the Defense Ministry has said, days after the area was captured by government forces. The army repulsed the attack on the base housing national and local troops in Kaib, a village captured from Al-Shabaab last week. Defense Ministry spokesman Abdullahi Al-Anod told the state-run news agency SONA. The attack began with 2 suicide car bombs, followed by hours of heavy fighting. Ahmed Hassan, a military officer in the nearby town of Bado, told Reuters news agency. It was not immediately clear how many people had been killed in the raid, Hassan had said. In a statement, Al-Shabaab spokesman Abdiaziz Abu Musab said the group launched the assault in Kaib using suicide car bombs before its fighters attacked from different directions. The fighters killed several soldiers and stole weapons and military vehicles, Abu Musab said. And finally, sports now. Let's join Adeni Ajishafe for sports news.
Rivers United striker Bolaji Sakin has said that his team will guard against making mistakes in Libya against El Nasri Benghazi in their return leg of the CAF Confederation Cup playoff. The tactical mistake made against Wydad Casablanca of Morocco have been corrected and cannot repeat against El Benghazi, according to the striker, as they protect the 5-0 advantage achieved at Adokia Mesiamaka Stadium in Port Harcourt. In the same vein, Saki expressed joy over the 5-0 win against El Nasri and Benghazi of Libya in the first leg of CAF Confederation Cup. Plateau United will face El Agda of Libya on Wednesday, the second leg of CAF Confederation. And still on football, after making history to become the first Nigerian team to reach the last 4 of the CAF Women's Champions League, Bayelsa Queens are now $200,000 richer. The Wafu B champions beat Wadi Degla of Egypt 3-0 in the last Group B game on Sunday in Marrakesh, Morocco. It will, however, be a hard nut to crack for Bayelsa Queens as they confront Moroccan side ESFA in the semi-final of the tournament after finishing second behind the defending champion, already Sundowns of South Africa. ESFA topped Group A, winning all the matches in the group to earn maximum of 9 points. Confederation of African Football CAF introduced prize money for the Women's Champions League for the first time. The Prosperity Girls could earn $400,000 from CAF Lagis if they get to the final, or $250,000 as runners-up. That's Sport News. I am Adeni Ajishafe.
And with that, we have come to the end of Trust TV News Hour tonight. Don't forget to follow us on all our social media platforms. I am Eugenia Abu. Thank you for keeping us company.